The chapter begins with Ava remembering her childhood. Growing up, she was inseparable from her twin brother Andrew. The two did everything together, but one day, everything changed. Their father announced that Andrew would begin learning the family business. Ava begged to go with them, but her father refused, and that moment would become one of the most painful memories of her life, because Andrew never came back. The story then jumps to the present. Ava suddenly wakes up from the nightmare, gasping for air. Even after all these years, Andrew's death still haunts her. Everyone says he took his own life. Before she can dwell on it any longer, her phone alarm goes off, because tonight, she has a blind date. Downstairs, Ava joins the rest of the Moretti family. For the first time, we're introduced to the people closest to her mother, her siblings, and unlike Ava, everyone seems to fit perfectly into the family's expectations. Everyone except her. Because according to her family, Ava is the screw-up, the one who never follows the rules. As Ava prepares to leave, she runs into the one person everyone fears. Her father, Alessandro Moretti, the head of the Moretti family. One of the most powerful mafia bosses in America. He warns Ava not to embarrass the family, and as she leaves, she can't help thinking about Andrew. There was a time when she desperately wanted her father's approval. Now, she isn't even sure what she wants anymore. Later that evening, Ava arrives at the restaurant for her blind date, but the moment she meets him, she already knows this isn't going to work, and within minutes, she's mentally planning her escape. Then something unexpected happens. A waiter suddenly arrives with 2 drinks, neither of them ordered, apparently. They were sent by another customer, a mysterious man sitting elsewhere in the restaurant. At first, Ava tries to ignore it and focus on the conversation, but every time she looks away, she finds herself glancing back at him. And for some reason, she can't stop noticing him. Meanwhile, her date decides this is the perfect time to discuss a future marriage alliance between their families. Ava politely rejects the idea. Then, without wasting another second, she gets up and leaves. Because at this point, she'd rather deal with Angie's anger than spend another minute sitting there. As Ava storms through the hallway, she makes a decision. She's probably going to get yelled at by Angie anyway, so she might as well enjoy the rest of her night first. But before she can leave, her heel suddenly slips, and just as she's about to fall, a strong arm wraps around her waist from behind and catches her, then slowly turns around to see who it is, because standing behind her is the same mysterious stranger from the restaurant. Then he leans in slightly and asks a simple question. How about a date with me instead? And just like that, Ava's night becomes a whole lot more interesting. Instead of going home, she goes with the mysterious stranger from the restaurant. And the second they're alone together, the tension completely explodes. The guy immediately pins her against the wall and kisses her like he already owns the room. But Ava notices something terrifying almost instantly. A gun, hidden on his body. Ava immediately pushes him away and demands to know why he's carrying a weapon. But instead of panicking, the stranger calmly removes the gun and sets it aside like it's completely normal. Then he looks her dead in the eyes and says something that completely catches her off guard. You're safe as long as you're with me. And somehow that only makes him even more dangerous. Instead of leaving, Ava stays, and from that moment on, the night spirals completely out of control. Later, after showering, Ava realizes the stranger disappeared. But before she can even react, he suddenly grabs her from behind. After everything that happened, he never even asked for her name. But Ava has no intention of telling him who she really is. So instead, she gives him a fake name. Juliet? Then I guess that makes me Romeo. She makes it clear this is only a one-night thing, because according to him, most women change their minds by morning. That challenge completely flips the mood, and suddenly Ava decides she's done playing defense. And what starts as attraction quickly turns into a battle of dominance between 2 people who are both hiding dangerous secrets. The next morning, Ava wakes up covered in marks from the night before, but when she sees the stranger sleeping peacefully beside her, she can't help thinking how different he looks now. Last night, he felt like the devil himself. So before leaving, she writes him a note, basically treating him like the one-night stand. And when the stranger finally wakes up, he is completely stunned. Not because she left, but because no woman has ever treated him this way before. Instead of getting angry, he smirks. Then immediately calls a private investigator. Because now he wants to find the mysterious girl who called herself Juliet. The only problem? Everything she told him was probably fake. Still, he gives the investigator one order: track her down. And as he leaves the hotel surrounded by bodyguards and luxury cars, we finally realize something terrifying. Ava may have just spent the night with someone every bit as dangerous as her own mafia family. After spending the night with a complete stranger, Ava finally realizes something terrifying. He understands her better than her own family. But the moment she returns home, that feeling disappears instantly, because her mafia boss father slaps her across the face for disappearing all night. Then things get even worse. He places Ava on complete lockdown, and standing there alone inside that massive mansion, Ava realizes something heartbreaking. She felt safer with a dangerous stranger than inside her own home. But while Ava is trapped with her family, the man she spent the night with is dealing with problems of his own. Because this mysterious stranger isn't just some random flirt. His name is Nick Caponelli, heir to one of the most powerful mafia families in New York, a man feared across the entire underworld as the Young Lion. And right now, Nick has become completely obsessed with finding the girl who disappeared after one night. The problem? Ava gave him a fake name. Even Nick's assistants start making fun of him. Because apparently the great Nick Caponelli got paid after a one-night stand. But before Nick can continue searching for Ava, his father suddenly reveals something far more dangerous. There's a rat inside the Caponelli organization. Someone has been secretly stealing from the family's shipments, and now Nick has been ordered to find them. The final scene cuts to a rooftop high above the city. Helicopters unload shipments while armed men guard the entire operation. And standing there in the shadows is a man we've never seen before. Someone close enough to the Caponelli family to steal from them without getting caught. He stares at Ava's photo on his phone, then slowly smiles. And tonight, after tearing apart half the city trying to find her, he finally sees her again, standing on a yacht completely cornered by the man who almost destroyed her life. But what nobody realizes yet is that this single moment is about to change everything. The chapter opens with burning cars scattered across the street while smoke fills the night sky. And right in the middle of the chaos stands Nick Caponelli, completely calm. That alone tells you how terrifying this man really is. A few moments later, Leo arrives with information about the people responsible for the recent attacks. Apparently, they finally caught them, but there's a problem. The men they captured were just disposable pawns, meaning the real mastermind is still hiding somewhere in the city. Then Leo mentions something suspicious. A rich playboy named Kyle Archer has been throwing massive yacht parties every night. The second Nick hears that, he immediately decides they're going, almost like instinct is pulling him there. And honestly, he has no idea how right he is. Before they leave, Leo starts roasting Nick. Apparently, this man has spent an entire month obsessively searching for a woman named Juliet. Nick has literally been looking through photos of almost every woman in New York trying to find her. At this point, Leo genuinely thinks he's losing his mind, but Nick suddenly gets serious. He says this isn't curiosity anymore, and the way he says it. Yeah, this man is absolutely gone. Then the chapter cuts to the girl he's been searching for. Ava has been locked inside her family mansion for over a month. Not because she committed a crime. Not because she hurt someone, but because she disappeared for one night. That's how terrifying her family is. We see Ava quietly studying alone, while remembering how desperately she begged her father to let her out. She apologized, cried, promised to behave, nothing worked, and then we learned something even worse. The last time she disappointed her father, she was locked away for 6 months, because rumors spread through New York claiming the youngest daughter of the Moretti family was addicted to drugs. One scandal nearly destroyed the family reputation. And ever since then, Ava has basically been treated like a prisoner. But right when the chapter starts feeling depressing, Bella arrives, and this girl is pure chaos. Bella immediately drags Ava out of her misery, and convinces her to sneak out for the night. Ava obviously refuses at first. Honestly, she looks terrified just thinking about leaving the mansion again. Because the last time she disobeyed her family, they locked her away for months, but Bella keeps pushing until Ava finally gives in. And then Bella reveals where they're going. A yacht party. The exact same place Nick is heading to. But before that can even happen, someone from Ava's past suddenly appears and turns the entire night into a nightmare. The yacht is packed with rich elites, flashing lights, expensive drinks, and shady people everywhere. Bella is having the time of her life. Meanwhile, Ava looks like she regrets every decision she's made tonight. Then suddenly, someone steps in front of her, Jimmy, her ex-boyfriend. And the second Ava sees him, her entire expression changes. You can instantly tell this guy traumatized her. Jimmy starts mocking her immediately. He brings up her addiction. Mocks the way she used to beg for drugs, then this psychopath actually offers her another hit. Like he wants to drag her right back into the nightmare she escaped from. And honestly, this scene was hard to watch. Because for a moment, Ava almost breaks. But Jimmy doesn't stop. Instead, he grabs her, and that's when someone crushes his wrist from behind. Right after stepping onto the yacht, Nick suddenly notices someone in the crowd. Ava. For a moment, he just stares at her, almost like he can't believe she's real. But before he can even approach her, he notices Jimmy grabbing her arm, and instantly, Nick starts walking toward them. Meanwhile, Jimmy keeps talking, completely unaware of who's approaching him. Ava tries pulling away again, but Jimmy grabs her even harder, and then a hand suddenly crushes his wrist. Jimmy turns around and immediately freezes, because standing behind him is Nick. And then Nick says, "That's no way to treat a lady." But something tells me Nick finally finding Ava isn't the beginning of a love story. It's the beginning of absolute chaos. The chapter starts exactly where the last one ended. Jimmy grabs Ava's arm, and suddenly someone crushes his wrist. Then a calm voice says, "That's no way to treat a lady." Jimmy turns around and standing behind him is Nick, completely calm. At first, Jimmy still tries acting tough, but then he swings at Nick, which turns out to be the worst mistake possible, because Nick immediately pulls out a gun right there on the yacht. In front of everyone, no hesitation. And suddenly, Jimmy realizes this man genuinely does not care who's watching. After threatening Ava one last time, Jimmy finally runs away, leaving Ava completely alone with Nick. And the second these two look at each other, again, the entire atmosphere changes. Nick casually admits he's been searching all over New York just to see her again. Then Ava nervously asks why he wanted to find her, and Nick immediately reminds her that she literally paid money to sleep with him. The way this chapter suddenly shifts from tension into awkward flirting is actually hilarious. Ava looks completely embarrassed while Nick keeps teasing her non-stop. Nick suddenly grabs Ava's hand, then casually asks her out on a date. And for a second, Ava genuinely looks tempted, but then Ava suddenly remembers Jimmy. The manipulation, the addiction, the way she completely destroyed herself trying to love the wrong person, and slowly, she reminds him that their relationship was only supposed to be a one-night stand, nothing more. Because deep down, she's just terrified of repeating the same mistakes again. Meanwhile, Nick stands there silently watching her walk away. And for the first time in the series, this man genuinely looks disappointed. But before the chapter can even process that emotional damage, the chapter suddenly cuts to a tense mafia meeting discussing the Russians aggressively expanding their territory. One man proposes forming an alliance before things spiral out of control, but Nick's father clearly doesn't trust him at all. The tension gets so bad that multiple people literally point guns at each other during the meeting. Then suddenly the man proposes something even crazier. A marriage alliance. And the second those words are spoken, meanwhile, somewhere else, the chapter cuts to a horrifying blonde man torturing someone while casually talking about the alliance proposal. And honestly, this guy feels terrifying. Because unlike Nick, he looks completely unstable. At first, Nick thought she was just another beautiful woman. Then she disappeared. A month later, he still couldn't get her out of his head. And the more he tried to forget her, the worse it got. Nick Caponelli met someone he couldn't understand, and that might have been the biggest mistake either of them could make. The chapter opens with Nick sitting alone at a bar, thinking back to the first night he met Ava. At first, it wasn't anything special, just a random woman he happened to notice. But the more he watched her, the harder she became to ignore. She wasn't acting like everyone else. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, and when someone tried helping her, she made it clear she didn't need saving. And from that point on, he couldn't stop looking at her. One moment, Ava seemed fragile. The next moment, she was fearless. Sometimes she looked completely lost. Nothing about her made sense, and somehow that only made Nick more interested. But then the chapter reveals something even crazier. Nick isn't just remembering her, he's been actively searching for her for an entire month, looking through photos. And according to everyone around him, he's completely lost his mind. After waking up the morning after their encounter, Nick discovers Ava left before he could even speak to her. All she left behind was a note and a stack of cash. The realization hits immediately. She basically treated him like a gigolo. Nick takes that personally. Most women chase him. Ava did the exact opposite. The story then returns to the yacht party. The same night, Nick finally finds her again. But the second he gets closer, he realizes something is different. When Ava tries to walk away, Nick stops her, not because he wants another one-night stand, but because he genuinely wants to know her. And judging by Ava's reaction, that was the last thing she expected him to say. Nick then hands Ava his number and tells her to call anytime. Then he finally walks away, leaving Ava completely speechless. And that's when the chapter delivers its most important moment. Because for the first time, everything becomes clear to Nick. He wants her, but Ava doesn't want him. And somehow that only makes her harder to forget. Because what started as curiosity has now become something much more dangerous. As Ava walks out of class, a bright red sports car pulls up in front of the campus. Students immediately stop to stare, and leaning against the car is Nick, completely shocked. Ava demands to know how he even found her. Nick casually smiles. "I looked up your name." Before Ava can even react, the students around them start whispering, completely embarrassed. She reminds Nick that he told her to call him. Nick simply smiles. "I told you to call. I never said I wouldn't come find you." Ava gives up trying to argue. She shoves him toward the car, just to escape the growing crowd. The moment they get inside, Nick notices she clearly doesn't want to be there. He jokingly admits he actually had to work up the courage to come see her. Ava rolls her eyes to her. He still seems like nothing more than a shameless playboy. As they drive away, Nick finally introduces himself properly, then casually starts listing everything he knows about her, even the university she attends. Ava immediately panics. Thankfully, he still doesn't know she's actually Ava Moretti. She warns him that her father is an incredibly dangerous man. But instead of getting intimidated, Nick just laughs. Eventually, they arrive at a horse ranch. The moment Ava sees the horses, her entire mood changes. Nick explains that this is his family's vacation home, a place he used to visit with his younger sibling whenever life became overwhelming. One horse immediately catches Ava's attention. Nick warns her that it's known for having a terrible temper. But the moment Ava gently strokes it, the horse instantly calms down. Even Nick looks surprised. Seeing how comfortable she is, he asks if she'd like to ride. Ava excitedly agrees, although she assumes they'll ride separately. Nick has other plans. Since she's never ridden before, he insists they'll ride together. Before she can complain, the horse suddenly takes off. Ava panics, but Nick calmly reassures her, "You'll always be safe with me." Slowly, she opens her eyes. She's greeted by a breathtaking sunset stretching across the countryside. Nick quietly explains that whenever he felt trapped, he came here because riding made him feel free, almost like he was flying. He thought she deserved to feel that freedom too. The words leave Ava speechless, because somehow Nick always seems to understand exactly what she needs. Nick asks about her dream. Ava admits she wants to become a lawyer, even though her father only allowed it because it could benefit the family to him. She's still nothing more than someone to marry off for political gain. Nick listens quietly, then smiles. "I think I know the solution." Ava looks at him, confused. Nick doesn't hesitate. "Date me, Ava. I'll set you free." That night, Ava returns home after spending the day with Nick. She collapses onto her bed. But sleep is the last thing on her mind. Nick's words keep replaying in her head. "Date me, Ava. I'll set you free." Then another thought suddenly hits her. Wait, does this mean they're actually dating before she knows it? She's already thinking about what to wear on their next date. And that's when she realizes something. She's genuinely fallen for him. The moment doesn't last long. Her bedroom door suddenly swings open. Standing there is her father, Alessandro Moretti. He demands to know why she came home so late. Ava quickly blames school. Her father isn't convinced. Instead, he orders her to clear tomorrow evening. She's attending an important meeting, and she'd better not be late or underdressed. The next day, Ava receives the location, 6 o'clock, 19th floor, C Hotel, as she heads there. She can't stop wondering why her father suddenly wants her involved. He's never invited her to one of his meetings before. Maybe this is finally her chance to prove herself. Holding on to that hope, she steps into the elevator. Just before the doors close, someone calls out, "Hold the door." It's Nick of all the places they could meet. He somehow ends up in the same elevator. Ava immediately accuses him of stalking her again. Nick laughs, but after seeing how she's dressed, he assumes she's meeting another man. He actually looks jealous. Ava can't help teasing him. "I'm meeting my father." "Why would I meet another man when I already have you?" Nick instantly relaxes, leaning against her shoulder. He quietly admits she had him worried. Nick gently kisses her neck. He softly asks, "Can I kiss you?" Then kisses her anyway, this time. Ava doesn't pull away. The elevator keeps climbing, while the two completely lose themselves in the moment. Finally, the elevator reaches the 19th floor. The doors slowly open. Standing outside is Alessandro Moretti. Ava's heart almost stops. She immediately tries to explain, but before she can, her father calmly looks at Nick. "It's been a while, Nick." Nick nods respectfully. "It's good to see you, Don Moretti." Ava can only stare in disbelief. Nick knows her father? Then Alessandro drops the biggest bombshell yet. "Say hello, Ava. This is the future head of the Caponelli family, and the man you're going to marry." A few days earlier, Nick learns he'll be entering a political marriage. His father explains that the Russian mafia is expanding to strengthen their position. The American mafia families decide to form a marriage alliance. Nick doesn't argue, as the future head of the Caponelli family. He's always known this day would come. Later, Leo asks the obvious question. "What about Juliet?" Nick simply smiles. "I'm going to sabotage the wedding. If my fiancé runs away, we can't get married." But beneath the jokes, Nick admits something he's never said before. His future was decided long before he was born. Then he remembers Ava, the promise he made. "I'll set you free." Only now does he realize why those words came so naturally. When Ava talked about living in a cage, he saw himself more than anything. He wanted to give her the freedom neither of them had. The story returns to the present. Nick finally learns who his fiancée is. It feels like fate has given him a second chance for Ava. It's the exact opposite. She stands there speechless, while Nick's father and Ava's father casually discuss their marriage, as if her opinion doesn't matter. When Nick's father asks whether she's happy, her own father answers instead. He admits he never even told her about the engagement, because in his eyes, she doesn't need an explanation, she just needs to obey. Watching everything unfold, Nick finally understands how little freedom Ava has. Unable to take it anymore, Ava apologizes and rushes outside. Nick immediately follows. He explains that he only found out about the marriage a few days ago. He had no idea she was the bride. But Ava can't believe him. From her perspective, nothing makes sense. Nick appeared at the restaurant, found her university, learned everything about her, kept showing up wherever she went. How could any of that possibly be a coincidence? To Ava, there's only one answer. He planned everything. Tears begin running down her face. She tells Nick she trusted him. I don't care if you're telling the truth. Leave me alone. I never want to see you again. Then she walks away, leaving Nick standing there, unable to stop her. Later that night, Ava sits alone at a bar. She keeps replaying everything that happened, wondering if any of it was ever real. Then someone suddenly sits beside her. He orders a Black Russian, before calmly asking, "So, you don't like your fiancé?" Ava freezes. The stranger smiles. "My name is Alec Kasnikov. It's a pleasure to meet you." The story picks up exactly where the last chapter ended. The mysterious blonde man introduces himself. "My name is Alec Kasnikov." Ava has never seen him before, yet somehow, he already knows exactly who she is. Then drops a name that completely catches Ava off guard. The Undertaker, confused. Ava asks who he's talking about. Alec smiles. "Your fiancé, Nick Caponelli." According to him, Nick isn't just the heir to the Caponelli family, he's one of the most feared men in the mafia world, a man known as the Undertaker. Ava is left speechless. Alec notices the confusion on her face, then tells her she's only seen the side of Nick he wanted her to see. If she really wants the truth, she should ask him about the secret he's been hiding, according to Alec. Once Ava learns that secret, she'll never agree to marry Nick. Before he can say anything else, someone suddenly grabs him and throws him aside. Nick. The two mafia heirs lock eyes immediately. Alec mocks him, asking if he's really going to let another man comfort his own fiancée. Nick loses his temper and steps forward, but before the fight can begin, Ava gets between them. She grabs Nick's arm, then quietly says, "We're leaving," as they walk away. Alec calls out one last time. Don't forget to ask him about the secret. Inside the car, Nick immediately tells Ava to stay away from Alec. But this time, Ava refuses to stay quiet. She reminds Nick that everyone knew about the engagement except her. A complete stranger seems to know more about his life than she does. After pulling the car over, Nick finally apologizes. He admits he never stopped to think about how all of this looked from Ava's perspective. Then, he gently takes her hand and places it against his chest. His heart is racing. For the first time, Ava realizes something unexpected. Nick isn't angry, he's scared. Nick starts from the beginning, a few days before they reunited. His father informed him about the arranged marriage. By then, he had already fallen in love with Ava. His original plan was to ruin the wedding. But everything changed. The moment he discovered the bride was her, he was so happy. He never stopped to think about how she would feel, looking directly into her eyes. Nick tells her the one thing he's wanted to say all along. "I never lied to you. My feelings for you, they're real."